massacre deaths versus terrorist deaths, and it was really bad. It was in the last single year or two. It was like 3,000. It was like 1,000 shootings, like 990 shootings in 1,000 or so days, in which more than 3 people were killed in a public area. And it's like, what a wacky, scary thing to be reading. It's like we want to care about the veterans, and we want to care about the victims, and we want to care about like people who are wronged. But the conservative people want to help their dudes, and the liberal people want to help their dudes. It's just that the liberal people's dudes are a larger group. And that's why conservative people feel outnumbered and feel perpetrated against in this country. Or not perpetrated, persecuted. That's the word. You know? This thing like, oh, fucking liberals outnumber me. I hate this PC bullshit. I want to go back to the way things were when I was happy, and the people that weren't happy, I didn't hear about it. That's all it was. I did this before with like the shit-eating totem pole. And it kind of goes back to that. It's like if we take away guns, someone innocent is going to get hurt. And if we have to treat every victim like they are a human being, liberals would have to treat those conservative people like humans, which they love to not do that. I don't like conservative shit very much, but liberal shit's just as bad. It's just as whiny. Like, if conservatives have gun control, liberal people have, like, political correctness and, like, the Tumblr universe. Yo, I'm sorry. I know that they're doing there. I know what they're doing is in good heart, but it's the same thing. It's just so whiny and so, like, about them. It's so fucking stupid. We're all flawed. We all want to trust somebody, and we need that person to trust us back. You need faith that person's not gonna roll you over or something. But we have to develop some kind of system, some kind of culture that incentivizes trust. We don't do it. We incentivize cowboy culture and bullshit anecdotal stories that in turn block any kind of reasonable legislation for just profiling and background checks. Because white people want to profile minorities, and then everyone else wants to profile white people, and everyone feels profiled and singled out against because we all are. So we can't profile. So we go, what about background checks? And then, like, everyone's in favor of background checks, but they never fucking pass. Why is that? Because they say no one wants background checks, even though I never filled out a fucking survey. You know those polls that always say, like, oh, you know, right now Donald Trump would win, or right now Bernie Sanders would win. And I go, why do you think that? Because I didn't fill out a survey, so who else didn't? So when we talk about voting, we're just talking about, well, this state feels like it's going to go one way. You go, well, I didn't even vote for what my state would vote for yet, so how do we know who we're going to vote for? Because it's bullshit polls. Bullshit statistics across the whole fucking game. People who complain about, well, you know that fucking only 0.1% of guns are used in homicides. And you go like that happened 3 hours after the Oregon shooting. Like, I just heard about it, I brought it up, and this one kid, seemingly asked by nobody, just vomited that fact up. Because, and it's also kind of bullshit too. Because that argument implies that, 20 million guns are owned by 20 million people. And they're not. I think it's like 4 million people own like 20 million guns and rising. So you can't count all of those guns like safe guns and safe people. So, granted, that statistic and that breakdown's kind of vague, and I did it kind of simply. I'm just saying, you can't trust your facts sometimes. You have to know what the statistic is really saying. And some people don't. People don't argue with, like, really learned conservative people. They argue with ignorant conservative people who just kind of repeat facts and statistics that they haven't checked, or stories that they've read on Facebook. And ignorant liberal people are just as fucking bad. I get it. I get that guns aren't the problem. But there is a problem, and no one cares about it until after every massacre. And like The Onion just keeps reposting the same article, but they change the name and they change the date and like the location, and that's it. And they just repost the article, and it just gets reposted every other fucking week for the last like 2 years. And people blame violent video games, people blame violent music, people blame lack of religion, people proclaim immorals with like sexual promiscuity, they blame it on atheism, they blame it on lack of fear of God, they blame it on anything, but they just blame it on these like the most abstract things that they know aren't supported by anything, and they know that they're just talking for the sake of talking, which I know is very therapeutic and very meditative, but we know it's useless when getting anything done. I wouldn't take any of these, prayers that I do and use them as any kind of substantial evidence to change anything. It's just a thought. It's just the ether. But when we pull shit out of the ether and go, see how that makes sense? People go, do you know how much bullshit you've left out? You know how much shit that your argument leaves out? And then people go, well, fine, whatever, fuck you. And then just like that, the argument's back to fucking name-calling and memes. We hate change. People hate changing because changing is hard. And people always want to change back. I've always wondered, what if we gave every citizen a gun on their 18th birthday? They were issued a fucking pistol. That serial number was tracked to your fucking social security number. It was tracked to your ID. It was tracked to you. That is your piece. What would happen? What laws would we go? We go, hey, my gun was stolen, so it's not mine, so that's not mine anymore. You go, like you can't, like in the military, you would be held liable for that. But this isn't the military, as much as people want to think it is. So you go, fine. If you can prove that your gun was reasonably taken from you, then you're not liable for it. Well, yeah, but like I can't carry my gun around everywhere because we have laws in the state. All right, fine. So we'll remove all gun laws from the states. And then people go, wait, you can't do that. State laws, have a right to stand. And then people go, yeah, but we want guns in the states. Like, fucking Republicans and Libertarians are so bullshit on that stuff. They love the idea of no federal government and strong states until the states don't want guns and they want gay marriage. And they want fucking trans people and they want to make you host a fucking cater a wedding or something. Then the Constitution comes out, and suddenly everyone needs to remember that that's the law of the land, and that the federal government can do that. So you go, what if every state wrote their own Constitution? They go, no, that's not legal, that's not real. It's got to be this one. It's got to be this paper. It's like, dude, you don't read the Constitution like it's a novel. You read it like it's a rule book. It's not like the laws of physics. I'm not telling you to even change the Second Amendment, because I knew that if someone heard this, that's the first thing they would fucking say, because it's all about them. I'm just saying, you gotta update laws. You have to update them with the times. No one, like, the founding fathers didn't see this fucking island, like this land of 400 million people with the internet. They didn't see, they didn't see the end of slavery. They didn't see the end of the planet. They thought that the new world just went on forever. And now that we have to share it, we hate the idea that we have to compromise on the Constitution. It sounds treasonous just to suggest it. And we treat people like traitors when they suggest it. But they go, well, you know what? It's like, what's the alternative? Like, you have to do something. You have to address problems that weren't addressed in the Constitution. But they go, yeah, but anything not in the Constitution is governed by states' rights. They go, all right, fine, but my state won't give me my fucking rights, so what do I do then? So you go to the Supreme Court. You go, yeah, but that's unconstitutional because they're going to make a federal ruling. And it's like, well, then fuck you. Fuck you, man. What do you want me to do otherwise? It's like we love states' rights and the ability to govern ourselves until someone else isn't being governed properly, and then we tell them to go fuck themselves because they're not on our team. They don't want what we want. They just want what I think is bullshit. Therefore, don't give them the bullshit. Therefore, I'm a law-abiding citizen and they're still the criminal. Fuck you. Your logic sucks, and I'm so glad that you hate Obama. I hope to God Bernie Sanders is elected, and then I would put up with all the conservative bullshit for another 8 years if it meant that I could possibly get free healthcare and education for my kids, regardless if I could afford it or not. I'll put the money in infrastructure. I'll put the money elsewhere. I will pay for this country. I will pay more than what I need to so that someone else doesn't have to. That's sacrifice. But when you're told to do it, it's a fucking, tyrannical chore. People hate being told to pay taxes. But people love charity. But people love the idea of not being charitable. And what is the fucking guy's name said that's not good enough? The idea of like, yeah, but I don't feel like donating anymore. I could, but I don't feel like it. And they go, that's not good enough, dude. To go, people are dying because you don't care. And then people bring up body autonomy, not to be confused with abortion of body autonomy, but it's the idea of like, look, I get that shit's going down right now, but you can't force me to change it or to help change it. But if you make a law about it, then people go, hey, I told you I wasn't interested, and now you've made me do it anyway. And then you kind of play off that bullshit like gray area of, well, if I were forced to like what's something I would not like? I don't know. If I were forced to, pay for everyone's guns, I don't even know. I don't even have an argument against what I'm trying to say. But I get it. Like, I get that people don't want to do it. But we have to do it. We have to do it.